wife taking in the win on Saturday. Coach, how was Tiger Stadium?
It was awesome. First game, and the experience was really unbelievable. So we were happy to be there. I felt fortunate to be able to watch Joe and the Tigers. It was impressive.
I give you some of those numbers and records that your son set on Saturday. You're a football coach too, and have watched a ton of film in this industry. Did your son play a perfect game last weekend?
No, I don't think he'd tell you that, and I wouldn't say it was perfect either. I know he missed a couple of passes probably that he wished he could have had back, but the execution on the offense by really everybody, not just Joe, was outstanding. First game we talked last week, I think, about the frustration sometimes with coaches with lack of execution, penalties, missed assignments, and just from a fan's perspective and a former coach, it looked like they were minimal on both sides of the ball. So that was it was really a good start.
Same question, two perspectives. From a coach and a dad, what was the most impressive thing you saw from your son on Saturday?
I think just throwing to the right people. Didn't try to force the ball at times. He was patient. A lot of times a quarterback is patient when the offensive line does a great job, which they did. So I would say just knowing that they were concerned about him making the reads and doing those type things. So I think that was the most impressive.
Coach, I want to ask you about kind of the emotion of the moment. As Jordy said, the camera kept showing you, and I don't know if I'm off base here, but to me it felt like you still had your kind of coach's demeanor going on, very stoic looking there in the stands. But what did it feel like?
Definitely watching the replay in the stadium.
Yeah, just very stoic, trying to keep it even keel. But like, what did it feel like watching each subsequent touchdown that Joe threw?
Well, it was different. I've always been in the press box, so maybe that's what I was continuing to feel like, that I was in the press box. But you're nervous. There was nervous energy as a parent, and I just wanted the whole team to get off to a good start. But thinking about it too, I mean, there were times since I retired that I did miss it. I missed the coaching aspect of it, but sitting there and being a part of that experience and watching Joe, I mean, it really came back to me why I did retire, and that it was a good thing. And I miss it. Again, maybe that was part of sitting there kind of diagnosing what was going on both sides of the ball. So, but I've certainly seen those clips. I had probably over 100 people send me that clip. So I just got to make sure that I'm not doing something I wouldn't want everybody to see from here on out.
Okay, so and kind of with that in mind, you're sitting there and you're diagnosing both sides of the ball as a longtime defensive mind. With what you saw from this LSU offense, like what makes it so tough to spot, so tough to stop?
Well, just the ability to spread everybody out. You saw, which they told everybody they were going to do, no backs and motion back in the backfield, and there's a lot of different sets that they present to a defense, but they're basically running a lot of the same plays off of those different formations. So you have to be able to line up to them, and maybe it's not a ton of different plays, but the ability to do those same plays in different formations is really tough on the defense. And then they were still able to run the ball, which again, I mentioned before, as a defensive coordinator, my number one objective was always to stop the run and get, when you spread people out and have all those options and receivers and running backs to catch the ball, you do open up some running lanes, and I thought that made it real tough on their defense.
And so on the opposite side of the ball, defensively, I mean, this LSU team just looks like they are overflowing with talent. What did you see out of Aranda's scheme? Like, how much, Coach, do you think you would have liked to coach a defense with the players that LSU has this year?
Well, that would be pretty great. We always had some great players here at Ohio University, but there's so many of them there, and they're able to do so many different things. But I'd say the number one thing that Dave had the guys ready to do is be disciplined in their option responsibilities. I mean, you have to take care of the dive first, and then the quarterback, and then the pitch, and just limited running lanes, and looked like everybody was on point with their assignments. And then again, first game, defensive coaches are always concerned because you just don't do as much scrimmaging maybe as you did once upon a time is your ability to tackle, and especially tackle in space. And I thought those guys at LSU did a great job of tackling in space and also carrying out their assignments versus the triple option.
Jimmy Burrow, at Coach Burrow on Twitter, is where you can find him. And every Tuesday right here on Off the Bench with us, ESPN, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Alexandria. Yesterday, both your son Joe and Tom Herman, who's the head coach over at Texas, were asked about their relationship, of course, from the recruiting angle back at Ohio State. Take me to that from a father-son relationship. What do you remember about Herman recruiting Joe?
Well, he was a great recruiter. I had known him because we had worked their camps previous years, so I did have a relationship with Coach Herman. But on the phone with me, with Joe, he was always very positive. I mean, it was obvious from the day he saw Joe throw in a throwing session in the spring that that's who Coach Herman wanted as his top quarterback recruit at Ohio State. So just a great personality, and he made Joe really feel confident that Ohio State was the place that Joe should be, and it was a process, but Coach Herman was always, hey, just be patient. Coach Meyer's going to come around. You're the guy I want, and just did a great job in the whole recruiting process, and became a friend of the family, not just a coach and recruiter for Joe also.
So when he calls him Joey, he's really tight to him. We were talking about it in hour number one. We didn't know if Herman was trolling the LSU quarterback or if they were really that tight.
No, they developed a great relationship, and that's just his personality. When he's recruiting someone, I'm sure, but then it grew into what still is a friendship today. I know Coach Herman last year after the Fiesta Bowl had texted Joe that he saw the game and congratulations, and sometimes a coach, when you are recruiting people, I mean, you try to get as close as you can with the athlete and also the family, but then sometimes it just continues, and in this particular instance, Coach Herman and Joe do continue to communicate, and then you got Tim Beck there too, who was Joe's offensive coordinator and quarterback coach after Coach Herman left, and there's still a relationship there too. So it's been a good thing, and we'll always consider Coach Herman a friend of our family for sure.
Coach Ed Ogeron is always projecting confidence when he speaks of his quarterback, your son. Well, what's the relationship like with you, with Coach O?
Well, that's a good relationship too. I mean, in the recruiting process, it was evident how good of a recruiter Coach O is, and then again, we spent a lot of time on the phone. I've spent time there during spring practice and at least 4 or 5 days during the fall practice. So we've developed a great relationship too. He's been great to our family, as really everybody at LSU, from the on the staff and fans, and it's just been a great relationship, and I'm sure Coach O will be friends of our family too for a long time. But I think that's his strength is getting to know his players and get to know their families, and that's why you see those recruiting rankings go one or two all the time, but just because he's a great recruiter and knows how to do it, which is a big thing also.
Coach, looking forward to this weekend. Massive one in Texas. College game day. How you feeling about it?
Well, there'll be some nervous anxiety, but like you said, confidence. I know Joe's confident. That whole team is going to be playing with a lot of confidence. Big games, you can't turn it over. On offense, you try to force turnovers on defense, but you just got to continue to build on what they established this past Saturday, and that's making good decisions, limiting penalties, and it's a big game, and there are a lot of sidebars with Joe and Coach Beck and Coach Herman, but the bottom line is it's still Texas versus LSU, 11 men out there on both sides of the ball, and it's just really who's going to execute the best, and the turnovers are always key. So you can't turn it over, and you got to force turnovers for us to be successful.
Coach Jimmy Burrow right here on Off the Bench every Tuesday. Great stuff as usual, Coach. Talk to you next week.